And here we go. As we said, we are back, and it's Tuesday. Rob, what are we doing here on a Tuesday?
I don't know. I got a little confused myself.
Well, when you have so many great people, we have to make room and time. And I know I had opportunity to chat with both of our guests, our Tuesday special guests, when they couldn't make any of the Wednesdays. So we're like, you know what? We are going to fit you in. And Rob and I were talking before we came on about all the great people we're meeting. And, a second piece is all the great people who you get the chance to meet at your booth at ISTE, booth 1114. So, Rob, it's been awesome co-hosting this with you. We're going to have 3 more days at ISTE, but you're also going to be part of the tech team at the ISTE booth. And for those heading out, tell us a little bit about it before we welcome our next guest in.
Well, when you come down to our booth, you're going to see a lot of great products because we resell a lot of great stuff, but you're going to see some stuff that we created. We call them iBlocks. They're project-based learning activities. They're perfect for beginning teachers, veteran STEM teachers, and we'll be hosting a Rube Goldberg challenge. So if you want to come down and play a little bit, try to complete a challenge, booth 1114. Thank you, Matt.
All right. And speaking of, I know our next guest, one of the first things that we talked about when we shared about tech is using some of the products. So first of all, welcome Jed Stefanowicz into the Stronger Together podcast.
Thanks so much. Yep. Stefanowicz rhymes with Bananowitz, Rob. Now you know.
There it is.
I love it.
So for those who don't know Stefanowicz or Bananowitz, tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and some of the work that you're going to be doing at ISTE.
Sure thing. And yes, you politely made it sound like you have so many guests, but I did, in fact, insist I want my own time slot. It will not be.
That's how it works.
And as part of my insistence, I said there must be a live animal in the room. So go ahead, Matt.
There we go.
And show us that little
gizmo and everything. What's up?
There he is. Yeah.
That's what they call rock star treatment. Okay.
That's what you get.
So yes, my name is Jed Stefanowicz. The past 6 years, I've been a digital learning coach. Before that, I taught 3rd grade for 22 years. Before that, I was a child. So there's only been one thing I've done, and it's been in classrooms since I was 5 years old. I'm in Walpole, Massachusetts as a digital learning coach at DLC. I'm in 1 elementary. I've got 1 staff, and it's a great circumstance to find myself in because it's as a digital learning coach, I get to be in classrooms as much as I can be. And I really get to partner with teachers to help them come up with ideas and make those ideas happen. It's really as simple as that at the end of the day. Any coaching cycle, any coaching protocol really is about that very idea of just what do you want to do and how can I help you do it?
Well, there's a lot of good stuff going on in Massachusetts. We work out there. I'm going to be out there for a Mass Q event coming up soon with a little STEM playground and some more stuff in the fall. So I know there's a lot of good stuff coming out of Massachusetts now.
Awesome. And I know of at least 2 great books coming out of Massachusetts. We have Jed's.
Hey, what do you know?
Look at that. So, and I've known Jed in a while, and I think he'd tell you the same thing. Initially hesitant for years to kind of take that step, and then it was like, all right, I'll write a book, and now I'll do 2. So
once again, you're being generous. Hesitant was an overstatement, but yeah,
2 and 22. So tell us a little about your work. outside of the classroom with the Take Aim and Impact Influence?
Sure. Well, sometimes it does take kind of that champion to say, and that's what the Impact Influence book was all about. Someone who can recognize in you've got a voice that has something to say, and let me help you find a way to do that. So for X Factor to have done that for me, I appreciate that, Matt. And really, my first book was called Take Aim at Digital Learning. That stands for, there we go, activate, innovate, motivate. Activate content, innovate instruction, motivate learners. So Rob, the tools that you offer and the iBlocks platform that you offer is really about those three components coming to life, right? And taking aim at digital learning, it is not about the technology, it's about the process before the product. Of course, we always want to talk about what are teachers using technology in order to do. And at the end of the day, is it enhancing and impacting student instruction? So that book was really meant to be a collection of ideas, strategy, tools, tips, and really just thought about what does teaching and learning look like with technology. And interestingly, through a pandemic, there's a lens through all that, no pun intended on the cover. The second book was called Impact Influence. And what it really, the subtitle of that is Risk Takers, Rule Breakers, and Change Makers. And there it is. And it's portrait profiles or pathway portraits of these 20 incredible leaders. And the idea of this book is, by the end of it, I realized it was truly a selfish collection and curation of stories that inspired me. And what I wanted to do was find out how people who had left the classroom or without leaving the classroom, educators of one type or another, how did they make that shift from impacting 20 kids at a time or 30 kids at a time to influencing local, state, national policy. So in this book, you've got publishers, podcasters, teachers of the year, a national teacher of the year, a bonsai YouTube sensation, some really interesting people who are working to affect change at a really big scale. And I wanted to find the common threads throughout. And what makes the book unique is the structure of it. You read 4 or 5 pages about one of these, a little mini biography about one of these leaders, and then there's a QR code. And that QR code goes to a 20, 30-minute Zoom interview between me and that person. So I don't think the world needs certainly another podcast, and certainly not one from me, because they're like you guys doing it better than I can. But what I did want to do is use the structure of a podcast to capture the stories in their own words, in their own voices. And what I found sometimes was the people I was interviewing and having conversations with sometimes would slip into, you could tell, some of their familiar patter or their familiar stories. And I had to back it up and say, it's not about what you've done. I want to know, what is it about you? Who was important to you? How did you take these steps? How did you choose to leave or not leave the classroom? And I really was able to get some really interesting stories. And I think anyone reading the book will find really valuable insight and advice from each of these leaders about what does impact truly look like and what is influence? What is the role of our leadership roles with influence?
Yeah, and I think, for those who want to learn more about, for me, I see a lot of times in a lot of your work, and even being here, and not saying this in a very shameless plug, but the power of connecting with each others. And even on this screen alone, we have a team from tech who Spaces is part of your reseller, and they were the sponsor of the book. And so tell us a little bit about what you're doing with Spaces at ISTE.
Yeah, they're pretty interesting. The more I've learned about them, I've known somewhat over the years, but it's been really interesting to talk more with Spaces EDU to learn about them as a platform and a provider and what it is that they offer, particularly in Canada, and now trying to reach more into the States. They were really interested in talking with me as well. And again, amplifying voices. That's what all it's about, with learners, with professionals, with leaders. And I'm really impressed with what Spaces EDU has as a tool, and I wouldn't say as a product, right? Because for me, just like that book, Impact Influence, I talk about it as a project, not a product. And I think that's what Spaces EDU is all about, is projects and thinking and curating processes, and especially finding a way to document growth over time. And what began truly as a portfolio tool, my early understanding was like, oh, this is a great solution to the void that is left behind when people stop using Seesaw at a certain grade because it looks like it belongs at a certain grade. And then bringing in especially the assessment piece and the alignment with standards. That's a really unique and really valuable piece that I think Spaces EDU has a really strong something to offer. So I'm happy to partner with them, and I'm happy that they are sponsoring, there we go, my book signing. So that's next week, Monday, 11 a.m. at booth 2157. And I appreciate their support. And I look forward to being able to talk with them and about them too.
And I think that's a lot of what you do, Rob, with your team, right? Curating, bringing people together. And I think another part of the power of this collaboration and bringing people together and all that you do as well.
Well, there are so many great minds out there, and nobody's perfect at everything. But when you get the conversations going and you get the partnerships going, there's really no end to what you can accomplish because everybody brings something tangible, everybody brings something positive, and stronger together.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that always impresses me about ISTE is bringing multiple people together and not just single presentations. And I think, Jed, one of the sessions you're doing is bringing people together in a playground. So you have your book signing in the morning, and tell us a little bit about this playground and what is that format?
Sure. I'm pretty excited. And I was asked to join the Playground platform. In the afternoon, next Monday, I'll be doing two sessions. One is on stage A at 3 o'clock. That's where I'll be talking about strategies and ideas to take aim at digital learning. And the next session is in station B, whatever that looks like, because it's always different every year at ISTE. And that's a session called Beyond the Bulletin Board. And that's a new project I'm working on, which is really ways to rethink the way, especially we're publishing in classrooms, rethink the way we're viewing assessment, and especially rethinking the way that we want to communicate with parents. And if a perfect example is, the last week of school, I was looking at printed poems that were on bulletin boards in the hallways in school and thinking about how flat that is and how limited that is. Yes, it's publishing kids' poems, but can we add to that? Can we enhance those? Can we add QR codes? Can we communicate that with parents? And that's where something like Spaces EDU or Seesaw or Google Classroom or using the tools or creating a podcast. So Beyond the Bulletin Board is really just about finding ways to amplify student voice, especially, and rethink what it means to collect that sort of work by students. So I'm excited about the Playground format. I think it's hands-on, it's direct connecting with teachers as well. So one of the things, Rob, you were talking about is you mentioned MassQ. I've been a longtime presenter and fan of MassQ, and it's just been a really natural playground. A great story that connects is another one of your products, Kubo, which I'm a huge fan of. The GM of Kubo, I just ran into him literally at MassQ, which is where I met Thibaut. And Thibaut is from Kubo, by the way.
It's great. I love it.
But no connection with Kibo.
Yeah.
So I actually met Thibaut. I saw Kubo being used, and I said to him on the spot, I said, I'm going to edit a book I've already written, and I'm going to add a section in there mentioning, and I wanted nothing for it. I wasn't looking to partner with him because what I really try to do is communicate to teachers, administrators, leaders, tools that are really successful. So now anyone who reads Take Aim at Digital Learning, especially the section about computational thinking and coding and robots, they will see a section about Kubo that says, when a Bebot dreams, it dreams it's a Kubo. And that's not a knock on Bebot, because I think Bebots do what they do great. I just think it's very limited. And the question is, what do we do next? And for me, Kubo was a great product to say, this is what we do next, and here's how far we can go with it. So that's kind of the way that I work as well.
And I like that. And you brought up a good point that you've been in the profession a long time and learning and evolving. What are you looking to learn a little bit more about at ISTE, or how do you continue to learn some of these strategies?
That's a great question. And part of me, of course, wants to look at AI stuff because it's so fascinating. But it's so quick, and I don't want to go to sessions that are looking at policymaking on AI because I think it's way too soon and way too big and way too unknown. I'm more interested in seeing really, I think we're past the point where people are freaking out about kids cheating. And yes, that's always going to be a consideration. But I think the creative component, the realness of it, the reality, no pun intended, of a tool that's here is really powerful. So I am curious about really thoughtful and intentional integration of AI work. And that's where I'm going to be looking. But most importantly, the whole idea of this new project of mine beyond the bulletin board is really about content creation. And Matt, you've talked about it a lot. And I remember the first time I heard the phrase, which is now so familiar, shifting kids from being content consumers to content creators. But it really was revelatory for me in a way that pulled me out of a third grade classroom into a role like this, which is really about using digital tools. But for what purpose? Again, what's the impact on student learning? It's about empowering students to become content creators and empowering them to have a more active voice in the work they're doing, the options they're choosing to show it, and the ways that we also assess it.
Nice. I like that. So I have a question for you, Jed. Sum it up for us. What is your take on what does Stronger Together mean?
The reason I'm here is because of Stronger Together. It's also because of the power of connections. Those should be titles of a book somewhere.
That'd be a good idea.
No, it really is true. It's just like we tell students, the ideas and the tools we use for assessing and showing are only as strong and only as powerful as the voices that amplify them, right? We all need each other. And when you do, 1 and 1 can make 3, where you have an idea, but someone sees that idea and says, let's partner on a project. Let me bring that voice forward. Let me pass your name along to someone else. And kind of sharing that spotlight, I think, is really powerful. And then together, looking toward those partnerships for not selling products, not selling books, but really trying to make a change and truly transforming teaching and learning. Because I don't think technology transforms teaching. I think technology can transform teachers, but it's slow, it's incremental, and it's really personal. And it's those connections, and it's that stronger togetherness that makes it happen one step at a time.
So the first time I did the podcast with Matt, it seems like months ago, but it was a couple of weeks ago, he asked me the question. And ever since then, he's allowed me to ask the question, which I appreciate. But more so, everybody's answer, I just want to say, I wish I would have said that. Very, very well said, Jed.
We'll do a do-over.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And just for clarity, I don't allow you to do anything. We're partners in this.
Yeah, I know.
And one of the things that always impresses me about Jed, and if you don't follow him, make sure to follow him on Twitter. That is his handle is his authenticity. The things he says, he's real about. The things he doesn't want to do, he's not going to do. If there's something he wants to, if there's something he wants to update, he's going to update it. And I think that's always impressed me as we are the veterans in this profession at this point, that you're continuing to evolve. And I think that's important to know, that wherever you are in your journey, you can continue to evolve and you can continue to learn. So Jed, thank you for letting us learn with you and sharing your voice in multiple projects. Some
Love it.
Great books. Check them out at ISTE as well. And 2 possibilities. Well, he'll be there for the time. It's not like you only can see him 2 different times. So make sure to hit up the book signing first, Monday morning. Get a chance to meet Jed, sign your book. Thank you to Spaces. And then, of course, head over to the playground and see all of the great work that he's doing there and sharing his voice. And grab a photo, grab a laugh, and
That's it.
It's how it works. So Jed, thank you. We'll see you when you're getting in Sunday, you said?
Yep, Sunday afternoon. I'll be there.
All right. You'll be able to make it to the tech event, hopefully, maybe. And if not, we'll get a chance to see you. I'll swing by the booth. I need a free book. Wonder I can
There you go. There you go. The first 20 are free. Compliments of Spaces EDU.
Nice.
All right. So make sure to get there to Spaces.
I'll be there.
And make sure to get over to the tech booth at some point in the 3 days as well, booth 1114. So Rob, thanks again for jumping on and being part of this. And Jed, thanks for all your work. And we'll see you in Philadelphia.
All right. See you next week, guys. Thanks.
See ya.
You all, guys.